tell me a little bit about your characters. You kind of work your food into, and that's your interest, into your novels.
Well, when we did the Keyhole Conversations for Kansas Two-Step, the main character, R.C. Belitsky, was known for relaxing in Old Town by going to a place for a good burger and a good beer.
Yeah.
I don't think that since I have such a passionate interest in food that I could ever write a character who would eat at Burger King all the time. It would just bore me to tears writing that person. There is a dark crime fiction that I have called Weekend Getaways, or Adventures in Contract Killing. That's the one I did the pitch for in the Witch Pitch competition.
Is that the one you told me about earlier? Oh, that's the one that sounds really interesting.
Well, and what's interesting about that is that cocktails and food permeate. This is a story of a person who is in his mid-40s, is bored with life. He has an abiding sense of taste, but he's bored with the rest of life, and he takes up a hobby as being a contract killer on the weekends. And yet, throughout this novel, he goes to places where he has good cocktails that are made specially for him. There are several recipes in there, most of which I've made up, and my wife has asked me to actually create them and make them for her. So we're planning on working on that as well too. I think one kind of fun thing to do with this, if it ever did get published, would be to put an appendix at the end of the book that would include the recipes for all the cocktails and all the appetizers that are in it.
That would be great.
That for a dark crime fiction about a contract killer has food and recipe. I don't know.
You have a cookbook that you're kind of thinking about working on?
Well, I mean, I've created recipes for the family, for my wife and myself over the years. There have been discussions of me just putting one together and just publishing it on like Lulu just for us or for anybody that might be interested. You know, I'm doubtful that it would go beyond family or friends, largely because when you see cookbooks in the bookstores or even online, it's from big names, people that are on TV, people that own their own restaurants and so forth. Who wants a cookbook from the Tikiman, you know, as far as that goes? But
I disagree.
Well, we'll see how that flies. But yeah, I mean, there are several recipes. The one thing that I don't do, surprisingly, is I'm not a cake baker or a cookie maker. I bake bread. But as far as other baking goes, I really don't make any other cakes. There's a cake that I make for my sister-in-law on her birthday and my brother-in-law on his birthday, but that's it. I don't really do the sweets, largely because my wife and I don't usually eat a bunch of sweets, so having a whole cake sitting there on that counter and staring at it would be a terrible thing.
Now, did you make up the recipe for this cake? Is that
no,
you do the other dishes?
No, the two cakes that I make for the family members I found based upon their interest. I did a little research, I found what was interesting for them, but no, I didn't make those up. I don't think I'd have the ability to come up with creating a cake. Most of my dishes that I have come up with have either been on the stovetop or some baked things. I do make barbecue sauces, I do make spice blends. That usually enhance whatever it is I'm cooking. I think we need to take one quick look at that chicken and see how it's doing.
Let's do.
Let's see. When you hear the sizzle, it means you're doing fine.
Excellent. And the pan is fantastic.
The pan, that's the other thing too. We talk about tools as writers, our experience, our knowledge, our research. Well, there's also tools as cooks. We need to have proper cooking appliances, pots, pans.
See,
I'm a big fan of these. These silicone spatulas, they're my new best friend, especially with nonstick cookware.
Right.
Let's see how the rice is doing.
Oh, perfect. It's dry and fluffy. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Which means at this point we can now turn off the heat, keep that totally covered, and maybe even go back to our conversation for a while. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, as far as I'm concerned, it really is about, there's a parallelism between, well, writing and any other creative endeavor. You have shown on Keyhole Conversations writers who paint. They have a sensibility when they paint, just like when they write. They have certain tools that they use. They have a vision they're trying to create. Same thing is true of the poets that you had on Keynote Conversations, reading from their work. People think it's somehow easier to write poetry simply because it's shorter, and sometimes, as we know, it can be more difficult.
It is.
And when it comes to cooking, there's a whole different sensibility because you really are trying to do one thing, and that is please the people that you're cooking for. To be honest with you, if nobody's around, my wife's not around for some reason, I don't hardly cook for myself. Because there's a joy in that.
It's hard.
Well, I mean,
Just for one person.
Well, it's not even just that. It's the idea that I can please myself with a can of soup as easily as I could with some wonderful dish. But the joy, I mean, writing. When you write, yes, you have to be happy with what you've written, correct?
But
You're writing because you want to make other people thrilled, laughing, scared, whatever it is that you're writing, you want to affect them in some way. So our success as creative people, writers, painters, poets, or cooks,
yeah.
is to make sure that we're pleasing who we're creating for.
Yeah.